In this podcast episode, Mel Robbins dives deep into the pervasive issue of technology addiction, particularly focusing on how smartphones and social media have hijacked our attention and time. She emphasizes that the average person in the United States spends an astonishing 7 hours a day consuming media on their phones, a statistic that highlights the extent to which technology has infiltrated our daily lives. Robbins argues that this phenomenon is not merely a personal failing, but a systemic issue designed by big tech companies to profit from our attention. Robbins introduces the concept of the attention economy, explaining that our attention is now a commodity for sale. Companies profit from our time and focus, often without us realizing it. She stresses that our phones are engineered to keep us engaged, making it crucial for us to recognize that we are not just users of these devices. We have become the product. This realization is vital for anyone who feels overwhelmed by their phone usage or finds themselves mindlessly scrolling through social media. Robbins discusses the psychological effects of excessive phone use, noting that it can lead to feelings of exhaustion, depression, and emptiness. She shares her personal struggles with technology, including her frustration with her children's phone habits and her own compulsive checking of notifications. Robbins highlights that the design of smartphones and social media platforms is intentionally addictive, creating a cycle where users feel compelled to return to their devices for a dopamine hit, which ultimately leaves them feeling drained. One of the key points Robbins makes is the significant cost of engaging with technology without boundaries. She explains that our brains have a limited capacity for pleasure and reinforcement, and when we fill that capacity with mindless scrolling or consuming content, we deplete our ability to find joy in other areas of life. This depletion can lead to a lack of motivation and a sense of dissatisfaction as we become less engaged with meaningful activities. Robbins introduces insights from Dr. K, a Harvard-trained psychiatrist specializing in gaming addiction, who explains how our dopamine reserves are affected by our interactions with technology. When we start our day by checking our phones, we essentially drain our dopamine reserves, making it harder to find pleasure in tasks that require effort and focus later in the day. To combat the negative effects of technology, Robbins emphasizes the importance of setting boundaries. She advocates for physical separation from our devices, suggesting that we charge our phones in another room at night and avoid bringing them to the dinner table. By creating these boundaries, we can foster more meaningful connections with those around us and engage in activities that bring us joy and fulfillment. Robbins also encourages listeners to audit their social media feeds, urging them to unfollow accounts that do not contribute positively to their lives. She emphasizes that our attention is valuable and we should be selective about who and what we allow to influence us. By curating our online experiences, we can transform social media from a source of stress into a tool for personal growth and connection. In discussing the importance of physical activity, Robbins references research that shows exercise can significantly reduce symptoms of internet addiction. Engaging in physical activities not only boosts our mood, but also helps us disconnect from our devices. Robbins encourages listeners to find hobbies and interests that bring them joy, as these activities can serve as healthy alternatives to screen time. Robbins concludes the episode by discussing the concept of neuroplasticity, which refers to the brain's ability to change and adapt. She reassures listeners that it is possible to retrain our brains to break free from the cycle of technology addiction. By recognizing the manipulative nature of our devices and making conscious choices about how we engage with them, we can reclaim our time, energy, and attention.